Welcome, all the listeners of In the Footsteps of Padre Pio, friends of Padre Pio. And we begin today with a story by Saint Alphonsus of Liguori. He was saying Mass on the 24th of September. Now, this is 1774. And it looked to all like a normal Mass. Saint Alphonsus finished saying Mass, and then he went through into his house and he threw himself into his armchair. And he remained seemingly unconscious for the next 24 hours. He did not drink, he did not eat, he did not speak to anyone, and he showed no sign of moving of life itself. People started to get worried, and a crowd gathered because he is a well-respected and liked priest. And then 24 hours later, on the 25th at 7 a.m., he rang the bell and he said, "Come everyone, let's get ready, Mass begins." The crowd rushed in. And St. Alphonsus looked at them and said, "What's happening? What's wrong? It's been a whole day. It's been 24 hours since you spoke or ate. That is true. But didn't you know that I have been to see the Pope, who is now dead?" And in fact, so it turned out. The Pope had died. His parish was St. Agatha of the Goths, certainly not in Rome or near the Vatican. And he remained sitting in that couch. And it was 1774. Did Padre Pio have any similar experiences? Stay tuned to find out. Before we continue, you may be thinking, this is just going a little bit too far. This cannot be. So, in my defense, let me say that I'm quoting from a book called Padre Pio, the True Stigmatist. It was written by Father Charles Mortimer, and he's a respected priest and author of the book, and he spent time with Padre Pio. So he can, in fact, speak from experience. And just to put this episode into the bigger picture, there are many saints who had incredible mystical experiences. Venerable Mary of Agreda, she used to frequently, after communion, go into ecstasy, and during ecstasy she would be lifted off the ground as well. Saint Louis. And Saint Louis would go into an ecstasy when he was praying, and he would stay in that ecstasy for 3 or 4 days. During this time, he would in fact be suspended in the air. Isn't this the same Catholic saint whose statue they are trying to pull down in America at this very time, in the city of St. Louis? So I think let's all pray that it does not bring down God's wrath instead. The great Saint Therese of Avila. And she was walking along, as she put it, one shore, and then suddenly, without knowing what was happening, she was on the other shore. But she had these experiences. And Saint Teresa is in fact seen as an authority on these mystical experiences, on the mystical life. And she wrote in one of her books that levitation is just the beginning phase. So now, personally, I wouldn't mind meeting someone who's in just this beginning phase. I don't know if you've ever met someone who is in just this beginning phase of being able to levitate. I think they are incredibly few and far between. But Padre Pio, he was not just in the beginning phase, he was beyond the beginning phase by just a little bit, because he would not just rise off the ground a little bit, but he would appear in other places, similar to Saint Alphonsus of Liguori. Just going back to the authors, he's speaking now of his own experience. And he said, when you would recommend someone to Padre Pio's prayers, Padre Pio's face would in fact change. It changed color and it became more luminous. And Padre Pio would murmur a prayer, and then it seemed almost as if he was transporting himself to whoever it was to see, what help he could give. And, interestingly, the said person often would smell the perfume. It's the Padre Pio's, what they call the odor of sanctity. which is another mystical gift, or felt the presence of Padre Pio to be near. Now there's so many instances around bilocation with Padre Pio, so we're going to have to choose just one or two. A gentleman arrived in a car. He got out the car and said, "Where is Padre Pio? Take me to him. I want him to convert me." There were other ladies from the acting company in the car, and they started giggling and they were highly amused. So I'm sure you can agree that it was not a very humble approach to seeking to be made right with God. And maybe God also didn't see it that way, because as we'll see, searched in the monastery, they looked in his cell, they looked in the garden, they looked in the recreation area, they looked everywhere. But Padre Pio could not be found. Getting tired of waiting, the actor said, "Well, I think I will be going. I'd wanted to be converted by him." And he followed that with a sarcastic laugh. He got back in his car and he drove off down the road. And immediately, Padre Pio appeared face to face with this crowd who had been trying to help the actor. And they said to him, "Father, where were you? Where have you been? We searched all over for you." Padre Pio said, "I was right here, in front of you. I passed in front of you 3 or 4 times. But neither you nor he noticed me." And the people of San Giovanni understood the message. And this final story takes place in Genoa. Now Genoa, if we look at the map, is a full 808 kilometers from San Giovanni, where Padre Pio is, or where Padre Pio was. Almost 9 hours by car. And there in Genoa, there was this lady, Mrs. De Vito. And she was seriously ill. She was in danger of losing her leg. The doctors had in fact already decided that they had to amputate. One of her daughters was not giving up that easily. And she was in another room and she was praying and asking. And she asked Padre Pio to please help, to do something. Please help. And suddenly, she looked up and saw Padre Pio in the doorway. This is 800 kilometers away from where he actually was. What did she do? Well, she threw herself on her knees and implored him, "Oh Father, save my dear mother." And Padre Pio looked at her and said, "Wait 9 days." And then he was gone. She obviously wanted to ask him more, but he was gone. However, she was convinced. And she went and told the doctors. No operation, for 9 days. The doctors were not happy and they started to put pressure on her. And her family started to put pressure on her. And as you may have guessed, the mother's condition continued to get worse. But the daughter was adamant. She knew she had seen Padre Pio. Day 9 came and nothing happened. Day 10 came. It finally arrived and the doctors came in and I guess were a little more than surprised to find Mrs. De Vito's leg 100% better. It was an absolutely amazing day. Shortly thereafter, the whole family, the mother, the father, the daughters, in-laws, grandchildren, everyone, they all made the journey to San Giovanni Rotondo to thank Padre Pio. And when they got there, Padre Pio told them in a gruff voice to go to the church, thank our Lord and the Mother of Divine Graces. So that is where they went, to the church to thank God for all he had done for them. We've seen 2 miracles here. The first, the actor was kind of proud. And he was unable to see the miracle which happened right there. And he was left unaided. And the second miracle, the daughter, through her humble prayers and supplications and determination, she won the heart of God and the miracle. And her mother lived.
In nome del Padre, del Figliolo e dello Spirito Santo, e così sia. Sia lodato Gesù e Maria, oggi e
If you go to our website, you'll find a form there. If you fill in the form, you'll join our emailing list, and I'll be able to send you emails of our future videos.